Everybody wants to teach you how to make 10K per month, how to achieve your dream life through coding. When the reality is, this is hard, most of you will fail, and the strategy to do this in 2024 is significantly different than it used to be. The first thing you need to understand is that the golden days of coding are behind us. No longer can you learn to code for 2 months and land a 6-figure job at Google. Now, there is still an insane amount of money in this space, but more and more of it's being concentrated at the top, and the competition is getting steeper and steeper. That said, you can still absolutely make 10K per month coding, but you need to be a little bit more creative, and I'll share with you what I mean by that. But first, as we all know, the obvious way to make a lot of money through coding is by running a business, or at least being a part of one in the early days. Now, you're probably watching this video because you want to earn money through coding, and that means starting a business is key, even if it's just a small one and servicing something like a few freelancing clients. Now that means that you need to check out this free business startup kit from a good friend of the channel, HubSpot. This business startup kit gives you 9 free templates that can help you brainstorm your business's name, develop a business plan, and even how to pitch your idea to potential investors. You can even utilize the business startup cost calculator and feasibility study template to make sure you know what you're getting into before you start. I've left a link in the description where you can check this out completely for free. Now, as someone who's run multiple businesses, I can say that this is something I definitely wish I had, especially during the early days of the business. Could have saved me a ton of time and thousands of dollars. I definitely recommend you check it out. And I want to give a big thank you to HubSpot for making this resource and tons of others completely free, and for sponsoring today's video. So now we're going to get into a 5-step approach where I talk to you about exactly what you need to do in order to build up to the point where you can be making 10K per month. Now, most of us aren't just going to start a business tomorrow that starts making a ton of money. We need to have a strategy, and we need to have a structured approach. Now, that's why the first thing we need to do is actually understand what it is we're going to be doing to make 10K per month, and start to develop some kind of strategy or plan so that we can work our way towards that goal. This isn't something that's going to happen in a few days or even most likely a few months. It does take time to get to that income level, but once you're able to hit a threshold like 10K per month, it really can become quite exponential, and you can start to realize how much more money there is in this field and how you can capture just a little piece of it. So the first thing I recommend doing, and what I personally did to start making money from coding, even when I was more of a beginner, was specialize and learn something that's niche. Now, a lot of people will disagree with me. They'll say, hey, you should be a generalist, you should know everything. Now, as much as that's great, the issue with that is if you know everything, you don't stand out in one specific area. If you're a senior developer and you have 20 years of experience, that's fantastic. You can just go get a job and you can make $300,000 per year. But for those of us that are just starting out, we need to make sure that we become a niche authority, that we actually are really good in one certain area, and we can provide enough value in that area that we can get paid. If we just know a little bit of Python, a little bit of JavaScript, we can build some basic applications, well, so can everybody else. We need to be good in one area so that people specifically looking for that skill set will find us and are willing to pay us, rather than someone who just knows a little bit. Now, to give you the exact way that I did this, when I was younger, I got really good at Pygame. Pygame is a Python module for making simple 2D games. I got so good at this that a lot of other students in my class and from other schools actually wanted to pay me money to complete their homework assignments. Not the most ethical thing in the world, but since I was really good at Pygame, I actually had enough value in that area where I could sell my skill set. Students needed Pygame projects completed. They needed it specifically in that framework. I knew exactly what the professors and teachers were looking for, and I could get all of them A's really easily. Beyond that, I also set up some freelancing gigs online, same thing, specifically for Pygame, and I started making a few $100s a month doing Pygame projects. Now, this isn't what was going to lead me to 10K per month, but it started to show me that if I knew an individual skill and I was really good in one area, even if I wasn't a professional software developer, and I wasn't at that point, I could still make money and I could still monetize my skill. So the first thing that you need to do here is pick a field to specialize in. It doesn't need to be as niche as something like Pygame, but it should be a specific framework or a specific library, or maybe you're really good at building characters in Unity, or you're really good at developing fast APIs in Python, right? It doesn't matter what it is, but you need to pick one area. You can broaden the scope eventually, but you need to start where you can penetrate as deep as possible, rather than trying to have this whole broad scope and do everything. Now, once you've picked your niche and you actually have a bit of a strategy here, the next thing you need to do is get your name out there. You need to start building credibility and demonstrating that you actually have skills. Having a resume today is just not enough. Put on a resume all your skills, all your projects, everything you know. It just doesn't matter. Employers don't care about that as much as they used to. And in this digital age, you really need to be presenting your skills online. I know a lot of you don't want to hear that, but my recommendation here is to post content consistently, or at least to be networking with other individuals in the space so that you can start building a group of people that actually know what you do and what you're capable of. And when I say post content, that doesn't mean you need to become a vlogger. It doesn't mean you need to be a professional Medium post writer. It just means that you need to start putting something out there so that people can actually find you, or when they do eventually find you, they have something to look at. They have something to see. They can actually have proof that you know what you're doing and you've built something. You have credibility. That is where content comes in handy. It's something you can point to and that people can find when they look up your name. That's why you're posting content, not because you're going to be making money from the content you're posting. Now, that could happen eventually, and that's actually exactly what ended up happening to me. But the point is, you need to put your name out there in some way or another. So I typically recommend for people that maybe don't want to be on camera or film something, write some different blog posts, write some Medium articles, do basic tutorials in the niche that you're really good at. Share some of the projects you built on LinkedIn. Make a little story about how you actually developed that. Start just sharing insight, join some different communities. Make sure that people know who you are and they know what skill set you have to offer. Now, this will be slow, but if you can do this consistently and keep building up proof of what you've actually done, it's only going to help you in the future, whether you do decide to get a job, whether you move more into freelancing, or do some of the other methods I'm going to talk about in this video. So once you've started to develop a little bit of credibility online, or you at least have something that people can go and look at when they look up your name, the next thing I recommend you do is some coaching or teaching. Now, keep in mind, this is not what's going to make you 10K per month. These are the slow building blocks and personally what I did to eventually reach that milestone. So we want to start by making a little bit of money online and then work our way up slowly so that we build credibility along the way so that we can eventually then land those really high paying clients or those high paying jobs. So that's why I'm suggesting at this stage, we want to start coaching, we want to start tutoring, we want to start sharing our knowledge with individuals. This is where you can actually start making some real money. For example, when I was as young as 16 years old, I was doing tutoring for $20 or $30 per hour. I was tutoring in computer science. I was actually tutoring in things like math and regular science. And I was tutoring in pretty much anything that someone would pay me for. That got me my first client because one of my teachers knew that I was really good in computer science, recommended me to one of the parents or one of the students who was struggling in one of his other classes. And there you go, I tutored him. From there, I got recommendations and referrals, and I started to build up a really small tutoring business where people in the school knew that if they needed computer science help, I could help them with it. Now, the same thing happened as I moved to university. I started getting a few gigs online because I had a little bit of content. People would find me, or if I would post listings in like the university hallway, people could actually go and see my name and go, okay, this guy actually is good at computer science. He has a few articles. He knows what he's talking about. I'll go to him and I'll pay him $40 per hour for coaching. And you get the idea here. You can really slowly start to build up a bit of a tutoring business. You can build a bit of a client base, and then you can start getting referrals and testimonials, which again, only prove your credibility and provide you with assets that you can monetize later on. You're not going to do this overnight. It's not something that's going to happen extremely quickly. So these are the easiest steps that I can think of to start building up towards that skill. So once you've made a little bit of money from tutoring and coaching, you have some clients, you have some credibility, you now have a great thing to add to your resume, to add to your portfolio, and now we can move on to the next step where we can start really moving into the area where we make some real money. So now at this point, we've built some building blocks, we've developed a bit of a strategy, we've networked, we've put some content out there, and we've done a little bit of coaching and tutoring so we have real people that can back up our skills. It's now time to actually start making some real money, and what I recommend here is to start freelancing. Now, freelancing is something that could make you as little as a few $100s per month to as much as tens of thousands of dollars per month. It's really up to where you want to take it, but this is a natural next step before we start talking about something like landing a full-time job. So in order to start freelancing, we need to start letting people know that we actually do freelance work. Now that can start from your social media accounts, changing even something like your Instagram bio to say, hey, I do software freelancing, contact me here, making a post on LinkedIn, making a post on the different content platforms you've been using, and just starting to make people aware that you do freelancing work. Beyond that, posting on sites like Upwork and Fiverr, that can give you some organic discoverability, make a really good listing in a really niche area that's not being covered by a lot of other developers, and I guarantee you will see some success and you will see some people coming to you. This is exactly what I did again. I actually posted a bunch of listings on Fiverr. I have an entire video of how I did this, how I made my first $500 freelancing. You can check it out here. And I have another video talking about how to price freelancing projects, so I'll put that on the screen as well. The point is, you absolutely can make money with freelancing, but only if you're not another freelance developer. What I mean by that is you need to stand out. You need to have credibility. You need to have something backing you up. And there needs to be a reason someone would pick you over picking one of the other 10,000 people that are doing the same thing. Now that's why we built those building blocks up. We got our testimonials, we had proof, and now we're specializing in an area where we're actually really, really good and people want our skill set. We're not begging people to pay us, they're begging us to do work for them because they really need what it is that we're offering. That is the key here. You need to provide more value than you're getting from the person. A lot of people think, hey, I can learn coding for 1 or 2 months, I can go on a freelancing site and immediately I'm gonna make a ton of money. It doesn't work that way. Everybody tries to do that. You need to be different, you need to stand out, and most of all, you need to act like a professional and someone who's not doing this for the first time. Even if it's your first time, I hate to say it, but fake it until you make it. The more professional you seem, the more experienced you are, the better success you're gonna have. And I can say that from experience as someone who's done this for a very, very long time and taught a lot of people how to do this as well. So ideally at this point, you've done some freelancing, you've made a little bit of money, you've worked on some projects, and you've continued to build that network and that credibility and to provide proof of what you actually know. You are actually a developer. You can do work, you can build out projects, and you can point people to examples of exactly where you've done that. It's only once you've built that up, which only comes through hard work and experience, that you can actually start making a lot of money. Now at this point, we're probably not making 10K per month. Most of you, if you're doing freelancing, are probably making a few $100s per month. If you're lucky, maybe a few $1,000s per month. Now you can definitely scale freelancing up and make well more than $10,000 per month, but that is a full-time business and that does take a lot of time. So what I'm going to give you here is a few different ideas for how you can hit the 10K per month goal after you've kind of built those different building blocks. Now, the first thing you could do is you can continue with content. It's actually fairly simple to make 10K per month from content. I've been doing that now for over 5 years, and I started making 10K per month when I was just 19 years old. The reason for that is that there's so many different ways to monetize your content, and at minimum, you can drive people from your content to your freelancing and get paid that way. Obviously, if you have a lot of viewership, you can do ad revenue. If you have a decent kind of niche of people that are watching your content, you can get paid through sponsors. You can do affiliate deals. There's so much in the content world, and it's very exponential once you get into it. But I also understand most of you don't want to do that, or it's not something that you're going to excel at. Now, beyond that, if we move past content, you could start your own business. You could build your own SaaS product. You could sell an application. Those are the riskier of the few. They take a lot longer to do and are much more susceptible to failure, but it is obviously an option and something, if you're willing to take the risk, you could try and could pay off massively. Beyond that, what I would look for most of you is either contract jobs or full-time positions. A lot of companies don't need developers year-round. They don't want to hire a full-time dev, but they're happy to hire developers on contract that they'll be paying for maybe 10 hours per week, 15 hours per week. I've done that quite a bit, and typically the contract will have a higher hourly rate than if you were a full-time employee because you don't have benefits, you're doing minimum hours, etc. For example, right now I currently have a contract for $100 per hour freelancing. I don't do it too often. It's maybe 5 hours per week, but it is something that I do have, and it's written, hey, any hours you work for us, when we tell you, we will pay you this amount of money. And obviously the next step beyond that will be to land a full-time job that's paying you a salary you're happy with. Now, most entry-level positions are not going to be paying $120,000 per year or 10K per month, but you might be making 60, 70, 80K if you're lucky, maybe $90,000 to $100,000, and then combining that with a little bit of freelancing, a little bit of tutoring, maybe content on the side, you can easily surpass 10K per month. Personally, my first 10K per month came from a variety of different sources. I did a little bit of freelancing. I was making some money from content. I made a little bit of money from jobs I was working, kind of part-time contract jobs, weren't even related to coding, but I did eventually hit 10K per month. From there, I started to realize what I was really good at and where I could actually grow and scale the business. That ended up being content and teaching. So I went down that avenue, and now I've made $50,000 months, $100,000 months, but it all started from those building blocks that I walked you through. It took took me many years to even make my first $1,000 per month from coding. Now, I hope it doesn't take you that long because you have guidance like these videos, but that's what I wanted to share here. Making 10K per month is by no means easy, but it's also not impossible. If you have the willpower, if you have the right strategy, and if you're willing to follow along with the hard work and go through those steps, it's definitely something achievable. With that said, I will wrap up the video here. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.